Yo, what's up, guys? Today we are reviewing Salaar. I have just finished watching this Telugu film with Prabhas, Prithviraj, Omali Films, Prashant Neil, and bro, I can't wait to talk about this movie with you guys. Honestly, this film was very exciting, but we're gonna get into that. This movie has just launched on Netflix, and as soon as it launched, I was there. I was there to watch it, as I was eager to watch it. I didn't watch it in theaters, as you guys know, but I wanted to see it badly, so within 10 minutes I was already on Netflix watching it, and we watched it live, so you can see my live stream reaction. The link is in the description and you guys can go check it out. Okay, so the first part of my review is gonna be with no spoilers. No spoilers. Let's just talk about the good thing first. The good parts of this movie is that, bro, I love the BGM. I think Prashant Neil worked very well with Ravi Basrur to do the elevations of this movie using the background music. The BGMs were used beautifully in the right time. There's only one part that I found a little bit cringe, maybe, which was when he was closing his hands. They kind of intermixed it with a motorbike starting. So I don't know. It felt like he was like vroom, vroom, like I don't know. Anyways, that's that's something that I found was a little bit strange. But the elevations, the BGM, the use of the sound mixing, there's a part in the movie. I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but there's a part in the movie that they go from the BGM, mix it into the fight sequence, and mixes it into a song. So I love that he connects one situation into the other situation, and that is something that takes a lot of talent to do. Okay, that's about the sound mixing and BGM. Let's move on to the next part, which is the cinematography. Cinematography, nothing short of spectacular, because if you love color grading of KGF, you're gonna love this movie also. The movie is very similar to the color texture and the design of KGF. The locations also look kind of similar, and what I like about this is that for specific motives and specific moments, there are different color shades, color grades. I'm full of my dog's fur. Goodness. Different color grading for different situations. There are scenes at night where it becomes more of a sepia tone. It has kind of like a grayscale feel throughout the whole film. It has some very deep blue background with very bright colors in the forefront. So they use the depth of field very wisely by making the background a little bit bluer, and that makes the color pop. I'm speaking specifically of a scene where the women are wearing red. So because of that blue background, the red of their dresses really pop out. So I really like that. And very similar to KGF style. Obviously, it's the same production, probably the same DOP, the director of photography, possibly the same person. Let's move on to the story. Story-wise, I think it's well, actually, let's leave the story for the spoiler part of this segment. Let's talk about acting. Prithviraj, good job. Prabhas also, I think the thing about Prabhas is that he is too serious in this film. So you don't see a lot of expressions in his face because he is so serious, which is part of his character. His character is an introvert. So you don't see a lot of deep emotions in his face because the character that he's playing doesn't have a lot of deep emotions, except for some parts, which we're going to talk about in the spoiler part of this video. The acting of the other women in this movie, the mother, crazy. The people the governors and the lords, they also have these crazy acting skills. But there is a negative, which I will talk about in the second part of this segment. But all in all, I think the acting was good, but I think the directing of the actors could be a little bit better. They could have used Prabhas a little bit more. There's a scene where he opens his mouth and you can see a lot of expressions. So if they had just told, if Prashant Neel had just told Prabhas, open more your mouth, use your lower lip a little bit more, I think there would be more expression, because this part up of Prabhas, the whole movie, you can see expressions, you can see very good acting. His eyes are sparkling. He has good acting from this part up. But this part down, it feels like his lip it doesn't move throughout the whole film. It feels that way, except for some parts where it does, and then you see the full capacity of the great actor that Prabhas is. In terms of story, this is going to segue into the spoiler part. The story is a little bit non-linear, I guess. And I think this happens with many of Prashant Neel's films, because it's told as a narration, as a narrative from a point of view of a person, which is kind of like a very trendy thing nowadays. I feel like the last few movies that I've watched has that narrator telling a story. Even Leo had that also in a specific part of the movie. But if you're the type of person that you don't like being curious and you don't like waiting, then I don't think you should watch this movie yet. You should watch it only after maybe 2 years or so, because this movie kind of makes you curious. I don't think I can say anything more than that without giving you spoilers. So that's gonna be my cue of telling you right now. From now on, spoiler alert. So if you're watching this and you didn't want any spoilers, you're gonna get spoilers now, okay? Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the film yet and you don't want spoilers, don't watch this part of my video. Okay, so my review with the spoilers starts with the storyline. The storyline is basically, it starts with the past, the children, right? Deva and, I forgot his name, Prithviraj, his character. It starts with them as children, and that first scene sets up this whole idea that Prabhas, Deva, is always dedicated to protecting his best friend, okay? And that leads us to a situation where he shows how dedicated he is, to the point that he will take an electric shock in order to protect and defend his friend. That leaves a scar on him, and that scar will probably remind him forever what he has done for his friend. However, his friend always is there for him as well. The second scene of the movie talks about how Prithviraj protects Prabhas as well, and he does him a big favor of saving him and his mother, and that is the pinnacle point of the story, where Prabhas, or Deva, makes a promise that whenever you need it, I'll be here. That's the beginning of the movie. We cut to the present, and the present is actually more modern than I thought it would be. It also opens up the idea that this is not an imaginary world, because we see a lot of Indian states. We see New York, we see New Delhi, we see a lot of states, different states, and this is an international problem. The daughter of this guy goes to India, and that's where the whole problem begins. She is an English teacher like me, but she doesn't have patience to teach children. So why is she's in the wrong profession. And there's only one person that can protect her, which is her mother. Not her mother, but Prabhas's mother, because her mother is in a vase, basically an ashes, basically ashes in a vase. And that's why she actually went to India, defying all of her father's warnings to not go there. It isn't very clear to me yet why they want her dead. Basically, it's because of Kansar and anything related to that, the whole family. The only criticism that I have about the story is that Prashant Neel always introduces so many characters. So for a foreigner like me who needs to read subtitles, it's very hard to keep up with the names, the relationships, and that's a very crucial part, because once you have so many characters, you need to remember who they are. There were some characters that were coming back. They were shown in the beginning of the film, which, like the guy who was on the screens, and he's looking for the CCTV images. It kind of feels like he doesn't really have like a deep character, because they don't go into character building. So when he came back in a future scene, I was like, who is this guy again? Oh, he's the guy on the CCTV camera. So it feels like Prashant Neel is introducing many characters, but he's not giving enough time for character building. So we don't feel attached to specific characters, and sometimes we don't even remember them because there are so many. And this is the problem that I had also with KGF. So many characters, I couldn't keep up. It got confusing at some points. However, I don't think Salaar was as confusing as KGF, because KGF was the first film I watched, and it felt overwhelming. I loved it, but it felt confusing, so I had to watch it 3-4 times to kind of understand what the whole situation was over there. However, going back to the Salaar story, the first part of the movie is a build-up to the second part of the film. It kind of tells us the story of who Deva is, and we don't see Prithviraj until the second part of the film. And that's a problem for the Prithviraj fans, but it's also a build-up. And it's funny because the trailer itself was showing us something different. The trailer showed a lot of Prithviraj in the first part of the trailer, and then the second part of the trailer, it showed Prabhas. So it's interesting how they twisted that in the trailer, and the story kind of repeats itself. There is some indication that Prabhas can see the future, because when he's talking to his mother, he sees some flashbacks that are actually from the future. So it's not a flashback, it's a flash front. And then also when he goes to save Prithviraj's brother from being decapitated, he talks to a woman, he gets a tattoo, and she sees the future, and he says, do you see it too? So it feels like he can see the future. But anyways, it feels like he has a little bit more of a superpower. So a few things get a little bit confusing, but if you pay close attention, if you watch it more than once, more than twice, then you will get the grasp of it, and you will understand everyone that is there. So that's the first part of the movie. It kind of explains the whole situation. That's basically his mother didn't want him to fight. He couldn't beat anyone until his mother actually allowed him to. Great scene, great fight sequences, stupid decisions from the bad guys who told the bad guy told his goons, go cut his head off. And obviously his mother would allow him and tell him to defend himself. If they hadn't done that, I don't think he would do anything. And his mother also wouldn't ask anything of him. But it feels like she is suffering from PTSD. He is suffering from PTSD. It feels like everyone in this movie is scared all the time also. This is a critique also, guys, don't hate me for this, but it feels like everyone is scared all the time. It feels like they see a seal and they're like, oh my god, it's a logo, it feels like it's a little bit overacting and over the top. Every time they hear the name of Kansar, they're like, urban legend, although it's a huge city that you couldn't miss it on the map. Of course, it's not on the map, but you know what I mean. It's not like it's in Area 51 or something like that. It might be in a remote place. But I feel like those parts, some of the actors were like too much in terms of scared. It feels like they're scared all the time. The guy was breathless. The guy was like, open the truck. He sees the logo. He's like, oh. He's like dying just because he saw the logo. While in real life, people would be like, oh no, we shouldn't go there. Retreat, guys. Sorry for the inconvenience. Hey, I'm out. But the guy feels like he's what you call it, hyperventilating. I know, I understand. It's to show that they are actually very scared. I know it's to set the tone. I know that, but it feels like it's a little bit too much, and it takes away from the seriousness of the film. A lot of what you call it, echo also in the voices. The dialogue is very strong, very powerful dialogues, and it feels like there are echoes. What I didn't see in this film was a lot of slow motion. I don't think there was a lot of slow motion. Another thing that I had a little bit of, I thought it was a good thing, a good decision, but unrealistic, was that everybody was using swords and machetes, but at the same time they said that Kansar was a location with high quality guns, futuristic guns, modern guns, but they never used those weapons. They only used swords and machetes, which I like, but in a different context. If they had said these are the best combat warriors, hand physical one-on-one combat, close combat warriors, that would be nice. The problem that I have with Salaar and also with Kanguva is that I feel like it could have been better if it was only set in the past, or like a rural, not rural, but kind of like a tribal thing. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be so nice. Like 300, 300, they're all Spartan warriors. So I think that would be nice. But the thing about Kanguva is, I think it's going to be set in modern times. That was a disappointment for me. But also, that applies to Salaar, because it also kind of has like the modern feel to it. And also, this movie is set in 2017, I think. So I think part 2 will probably be in 2024. But guys, I'm not saying the movie is bad. I'm just being honest and giving my honest opinion that I think there are some elements that could be better and better explained. But I know that probably part 2, we're going to see all the guns. But then they have the South Sudan warriors, which are all shirtless and holding swords, and they look like Spartans. So how are the guns going to come into play there? You know what I'm saying? We're never going to see them actually fight if there are guns there. Like, we couldn't see Prabhas fight if he was shot, at a distance. Although he did use some of the guns, and he did use it very beautifully from on top of the hill. So there are very nice action scenes, which we kind of have to ignore the logic behind it. Why don't you just shoot him and kill him, And there are so many parts that they don't kill Deva because they're afraid of him. I mean, if you kill him, the problem is solved. So the explanation is not too logical, which is not a problem if you accept the fact that it's pure entertainment, pure goosebumps, and it wouldn't be possible to see Prabhas fight like that, Deva fight like that, if they had included the guns. You know what I'm saying? But they could have had a law saying no guns during the ceasefire. You know what I'm saying? No guns, or no guns. The Constitution could have told, no guns. Maybe that would be guns only for outsiders or something. And that goes back to the story. Part 2 of the story, after the interval scene, we already saw so many characters in the first part of the movie. Come part 2, not part 2, but after the interval, the second half of the film, we see another storyline, we see more characters, and we see more things going on, more relationships, more things that we need to memorize, all while we have to remember the past story of the first half. So I think it's too much information. I think if this was a book, it would be very good. But for a 3-hour film, it's still short. It feels like Prashant Neel has so many stories that he wants to tell, but he can't fit it in 3 hours. And that's why there is a part two, because you can't see all of the story, even if it's in two parts. So in the second half of the film, they talk about the whole situation of Kansar, the tribes, the governors, 63 governors, the lords, and then we need to remember who is who. He's her brother, she's her father. No, that's not possible. She's her mother. This is the father. This is the king. There's so many elements that you need to kind of like be very very good with your memory to remember who is who. You need to associate names with faces and all of that so that you will understand the story. But the bottom line of the story is that there was this village which was completely erased. However, because there was an order, they told that everybody, child, girl, boy, everybody should be killed. Everybody. Don't leave one person, because the revenge will be unimaginable. And not only one person survived, but a whole group of kids which were vengeance thirsty, bloodthirsty. And the big reveal, which I knew that when they started saying the revenge will be big, I knew that Prabhas was going to be from that place. But this was used as a plot twist, that he is actually the leader of them, and that's what's going to be part two. So this whole movie was a build-up for part two. So I'm telling you, the movie was very entertaining. The story was very well written, but complex, very detailed in itself. But it was a build-up for part two. So the first half was a build-up for the second half, and the full movie was a build-up for part two. So if you are not the type of person that likes waiting for the next movie to continue the story, then I don't think you're going to be too satisfied. You're going to feel like, I feel like there's something missing, like I need something more, but hey, I love the action sequences. There are some goosebumps worthy parts. There's a part that I thought it was Bahubali 3 with the beheading. There were so many things of, they cut arms, cut legs, so violent, but I didn't think it was too violent. I think specific parts of the movie, a small portion of the movie was violent. I felt like it should have had more fights, I guess, but I think it had enough fight scenes, and the fight scenes were long. So that's a good thing. But I think all in all, if this is just going to be a build-up film for part two, it should have been shorter, I think so. But I think that this movie would need to be a film that would be standalone film, because when you have a sequel, part two, you want to ensure that people know what you're talking about. So if you have a full movie that is dependent of each other, part one is dependent of part two, and part two will definitely have to be dependent of part one so you can understand. It kind of feels like it's a big and bold move, because even like in movies like The Matrix, it feels like The Matrix 1 is enough. You know what I'm saying? And then 2 is dependent of 3, and those weren't big successes. Not as much as we wanted it to be anyways. But anyways, I've been talking for 25 minutes. This movie was very interesting, very nice. I feel like it could have been a little bit more compact, and I think could have less characters, because if you have a character that doesn't have a character arc, it feels like he's not necessary. That's just my opinion. Great scenes, moments that are memorable. The swords scene where Deva impales a lot of people and you see the swords, which is symbolic. A lot of symbolism in this film also. Also, when he talks about the animal being sacrificed and he impales the guy, the governor or the lord, he impales the Lord as an animal. That is a very memorable scene also. Anyways, it was very nice. Also, when you see Prithviraj next to Abbas, great. Also, obviously the dialogue, please, I kindly request, which is the decapitation kind of the scene, also very good, very memorable. So I think the movie was very goosebump worthy, and also the elevations with the BGM, everything that was going on, very good. So I feel like, you know, it's a great film. It also has some elements of Game of Thrones. Everybody's fighting for the throne. Everybody's backstabbing each other. Everybody's plotting against each other. The woman had a plot, you know, to bring Deva into Khansar. That's why she put the girl inside the truck with seal. The other guy was part of the, what is the name of that city? Sogyara? Sorry, I need to stop talking. That is for part 2. Also, everybody was plotting against each other. The king, even, he despised his own son. So they are arch enemies now. And also, the story goes back and front in timeline. So I think the 2024 story will come in part 2. But anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts. I enjoyed the film. Let me see, I'll give this movie, I'll give it an 8.9 out of 10. 8.9? 8.8 out of 10. Yeah, 8.8 out of 10, because I wanted to see a little bit more compact storytelling, or a little bit more character building. Of course, the main characters had character building, but I don't feel like they had a character arc. Actually, there's a part that I don't like, that I saw Prabhas begging, but that doesn't fit his character. He was begging. He was saying, please kill me and not my friend. It didn't feel like, you know, I didn't want to see Deva begging for his life. I didn't want to see that. That doesn't feel like the part of his character. So yeah, 8.8 out of 10. I think that's a reasonable score. I think part 2 is going to be much more built in foundation. The story is going to flow better. I think the movie is going to flow better. So I think the movie is great. You just need to pay close attention, be patient, and enjoy the movie for what it is, because it is a very good entertainer. And I guess I had a lot to say about this film because it was very visually striking. The sound of Salaar, you know, the BGM, fantastic. The editing was very good. It wasn't too fast. I think it was a slower pace than KGF. And guys, I guess that's it. I think this is a movie that will definitely please all of the fans, and the people who are criticizing it. They simply, they don't want to have fun. They want to kind of like critique it without maybe fan wars or something, without any reasonable explanation. But guys, I hope you guys enjoyed my review. It was a very deep review. I explained my opinion and explained why and what I would have changed. And I think that's the great part of constructive criticism. Not only say something is wrong, but say what is wrong, say why you think it's wrong, and say how you'd fix it. And I think I've achieved all three of those there. So please don't think this is a negative review. It's not negative. It's actually very positive. And I think it's a very high score, 8.8. It's a good film. It's a very good film. But let me know your opinion. Let me know your thoughts. And guys, I'll see you on the next video. I've been talking too much. Go watch my full movie reaction, and I will see you on the next movie. Let me know what I should react to next, guys. Take care for now. Bye-bye. Now you can get full access to exclusive content, special reactions to shows, series, anime, full movies, and even request a video of your choice. Just become a YouTube member or join Buy Me a Coffee today. Find out more, the link is in the description.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right.